welcome back to Uniondale's virtual professional development platform. My name is Dr. Shawn F. Brown, principal at Uniondale High School. And today we're going to go through our pre-observations. Now, you guys know that here we have pre-observations, observations, and post-observations. And I thought it'd be great if we could create a platform where teachers would know exactly what I'm looking for as a principal when I go into your classroom. Now, the pre-observation, we do not have like a scripted template that we use for all teachers. We don't have a structure that all teachers must follow, and if they don't, there's a consequence behind it. I like to have conversations about what works best for that teacher based on the students that they're teaching. Now, at Uniondale High School, we serve a variety of students. We have students that are special needs, E&L students, high-performing students. So it wouldn't be wise to create one template for all students. For all teachers. So today, we're going to look at key components that all teachers should have in their lesson plan. The first part is the introduction. So here it says, effective pre-observation lesson planning is a critical step in delivering high-quality, student-centered instruction. And I really want to focus on the term student-centered. Here at Uniondale, we believe that students should be active participants in the learning process. We move a little bit away from traditional learning, where the teacher is lecturing the entire time, and we move towards a more student-centered structure of learning. The first point is to establish clear learning objectives. The pre-observation lesson planning helps teachers define specific, measurable goals for students to learn. Now, I know that objectives can be a catchphrase that gets on the nerves of teachers. Sometimes it's pitched as if you have a great objective, then everything is going to be great. For you, as an educator, it's a roadmap to get to the goal and your desired outcome at the end of the class. So you want to have very clear learning objectives in your classroom. Next, you want to make sure that you align your instruction and assessment. Carefully planning ensures that instructional activities and assessment methods are aligned with learning objectives. The assessments that we create have to be in alignment with the lessons that we teach. And it's different based on content, again, based on the student population, and also based on the goals of that teacher. We really call teachers and we challenge teachers to make sure that our assessments are aligned to Regents exams. So anytime that students do take Regents exams, they're familiar with the questions and the level of rigor. Next, anticipate student needs. Pre-planning allows teachers to identify potential challenges and differentiate instruction to support all learners. Like I said before, you can go into a classroom and you have a very wide range of students that you are supporting. So it's important that you are anticipating some of the needs of the students in your group. This is based on data that you already have about your students, and you can tailor your instruction to meet their needs. Also, promoting active engagement. Thoughtful lesson planning incorporates strategies to keep students actively engaged and learning throughout the lesson. What's key here is active engagement. We know that our students are in many ways addicted to social media, and their attention spans are a little bit shorter than they used to be. In order for them to learn, they have to be active participants. The challenge here for a lot of us is dealing with the fact that we learn in a very passive way and accepting that our students need to learn in an active way. Probably for you and I, we could sit in a classroom for 40 to 45 minutes, listening to a person lecture, learn the material, and do well on an exam. That's not necessarily true for our scholars, as they've changed over time. So some key components of a student-centered lesson plan is, and you know what I want to do is I want to talk a little bit about the difference between traditional and student-centered lessons. The first part of the student-centered lesson plan is to review the previous lesson using formative assessments. For example, we can use multiple choice, short answers, or a quick quiz to gauge student understanding. So I want teachers to think about creating a short do now or connection activity when students come into the classroom. One, It helps students to get to class on time, because if you have an assessment right at the beginning that reviews the previous day's work, students have to get there on time, complete that assignment. It could be 4 or 5 questions, low stakes, so it can build their confidence, and then you can start your lesson. I think this is a really good tool. It's something that I used when I was teaching to engage students and to help them remember what they learned the previous day. A lot gets lost in a day. So sometimes you'll teach a lesson the day before and they don't remember most of the content. By having a formative assessment at the beginning, it helps to remind them of some of the content that you went over the day before. Next, having an essential question, a research question, an aim, or a lesson objective. Here it says, provide a thought-provoking essential question, a specific research question, and a clear statement of what students should be able to do or understand by the end of the lesson. Sometimes as teachers, we assume that the students know exactly what you want them to do. And it may seem very clear to you, but by having an essential question that they are to answer at the end of the lesson, it helps to guide the class a little bit better. So you want to be clear about that. I'm big on academic vocabulary. There's a specific way that academic vocabulary should be taught, and I believe it should be explicit. You should go over key terms that the students should be able to use while they're in their groups talking or if they're presenting their work. We also want to expand their vocabulary to make sure that it's content specific and that they're able to articulate the things that they're learning in every content area. The reason that this is important is because when they take state exams, there's certain terms that if they're not using it on a regular basis, it'll be very challenging for them to answer those questions on state exams. So I believe in teaching explicitly academic vocabulary. Next, there is the mini lesson or demonstration. You have to show students what you want them to do. If you're in an if you're in an ELA class, then you should show them how to annotate a piece of text, how to take notes. You want to be really, really clear. Why? Because students are visual learners. Sometimes talking to them doesn't necessarily work. You have to demonstrate what you want them to do. While you're demonstrating, you can ask clarifying questions, you can have students be a part of the mini lesson, but you want to be really explicit at that time. Then the group or partner activities. This is where you remove yourself from being the sage on the stage and you allow students time to work in groups. What's key about groups though is there's usually one person in the entire group that's doing everything. And that is because of us as educators. We have to have a schedule of folks that have to present, take notes, do research, and have it rotate on a regular basis. So it's okay to have students in groups and pairs, but pay attention to the student who's always presenting for the 5 students who are never presenting. They usually hide in plain sight. So you want to have a rotation of students that are responsible for sharing information, doing research, or taking notes. It comes with planning. Next, the student share out. What's really important, and we have to really work on our students, is this. They have AI, they have social media, they have all kinds of technology. For some reason, they are not able to share a lot of the things that they're learning because of some of the challenges they face socially. So you got to get students to share what they are learning. Next, summarizing your learning and having an assessment. This is a challenge for a lot of teachers. I've done a lot of observations over the years, and closing out a lesson is the most challenging part for a lot of teachers. Getting to the exit slip or the Cornell notes or whatever type of assessment that you have by the end of the period is a struggle for most teachers. They usually leave students with about 2 or 3 minutes and they throw an exit slip at them and say, hey guys, let's get it. It doesn't work. You're not getting real data. You don't know if they really understand the content because it's rushed towards the end. Something that I really think every teacher should do is simply time their lesson. Have it on your phone for 5 or 10 minutes. There's virtual clocks that you can use. I've seen teachers with the best intentions not get to each component of their lesson because they simply don't time it well. Formative assessments, which is really important. Formative assessments is an essential component of the student-centered lesson plan structure. It allows teachers to gauge student understanding and identify areas that need further clarification or support. Formative assessments can take various forms, such as multiple choice questions, short answer responses, or quizzes, and are typically conducted where? At the beginning of the lesson. This is new for a lot of teachers, but it's really important because it gives you a gauge as to where your students are. Like I said before, it might be important to review some of the work that you've done already to see if they've retained the information. The essential question and lesson objective. We talked a little bit about this, but the purpose of an essential question is to make sure that there's a thought-provoking, open-ended question that gauges or guides the student's inquiry and critical thinking throughout the lesson. The characteristics of an essential question should be engaging, relevant, lead to deeper understanding of the subject matter. Now, what's unfair about that is, as a math teacher, if you're teaching a math lesson and you're solving for X, what type of engaging, thought-provoking, life-changing question can you ask? Now, if you're teaching social studies or English, it's a little, it's kind of better. So I don't want to make math and science folks, well, no, math specifically. I don't want math folks to, because I'm a math person, I like math. I don't want them to feel left out of the conversation, but think about ways that you can create great questions for students while using math as well. The role of the lesson objective, again, helps guide and align the essential question. And here it said benefits of clear objectives. Well-defined lesson objectives support student learning by providing a roadmap guiding instruction and allowing for effective assessment of student progress. At the center of everything that we're talking about is student-centered instruction. There's so many pieces of research that talks about the benefit of using student-centered instruction and how it automatically improves the level of engagement. There's a study from 2000 that talks about how student engagement, when it's increased, improves students' outcomes by 1/3. There's another study that displays that the same thing happens anytime that there's inquiry-based lesson instruction that's happening in the classroom. So we want to make sure that we pull ourselves away from the focus of the students and we make it more about the students and not ourselves. We talked a little bit about a mini lesson. You have to make sure and demonstrate what the students need to learn. Here it says a brief direct instruction segment to introduce the topic and key concepts. This may include a video, presentation, or teacher-led demonstration to provide an overview and set the stage for student exploration. Collaborative activities. Small groups of partners work together. Students actively engage with the content. This may involve research, problem solving, creative projects, or other hands-on tasks that encourage cooperation, critical thinking, and deep learning. And we talked a little bit about the share out. The share out helps individuals to have peer feedback instead of the teacher. Sometimes students listen a little bit differently to their peers as opposed to a teacher. Presentation skills are improved, which is really big for college and career readiness. Also, class discussions. Finally, collaborative learning helps students to reflect on what they're doing in groups and provide feedback. So again, I thank you for tuning in to another session of our virtual learning platform, and I hope that this helps. Have a good day.